In our study of the circulatory system, we learned that oxygen is transported around the vertebrate body by the respiratory pigment hemoglobin, a protein found in red blood cells. Hemoglobin is made up of 4 peptide subunits, each bound to a heme unit. Like the red iron-containing compound iron oxide, or rust, the iron atom in the center of the heme unit binds with oxygen, giving blood its characteristic red color. Hemocyanin is another respiratory pigment. Its characteristic bluish color is produced by the presence of copper in the heme unit. Hemocyanin is commonly found in arthropods and mollusks. When hemoglobin associates with oxygen, it forms a complex called oxyhemoglobin. Because there are 4 hemoglobin subunits, each molecule of hemoglobin can carry 4 oxygen molecules. The binding of oxygen to the iron in hemoglobin is cooperative. Thus, the binding of one oxygen molecule slightly alters the shape of the subunit, causing the next oxygen molecule to bind more strongly, the third oxygen molecule to bind even more strongly, and so on. In fact, hemoglobin is usually observed in only 2 states, all 4 chains carrying oxygen, or completely oxygen-free. This is an example of allosteric regulation. The amount of oxygen that binds to hemoglobin depends on the partial pressure of the oxygen dissolved in the blood. In blood leaving the lungs, hemoglobin is almost 100% saturated with oxygen. As blood circulates through body tissues, the partial pressure of oxygen drops, and the saturation of hemoglobin by oxygen is about 70%. When cells are working hard, such as muscle cells during exercise, they need more oxygen, and the partial pressure of oxygen drops even more in their vicinity. The saturation of hemoglobin by oxygen can drop as low as 20%. By the time the blood returns to the lungs, the partial pressure is at its lowest, and the hemoglobin is ready to associate with more oxygen molecules by diffusion across the alveoli. Once the blood leaves the lungs, the hemoglobin is about 100% saturated with oxygen again. Oxygen is not the only gas transported in the blood. In body tissues, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is higher than its partial pressure in the surrounding blood. Thus, carbon dioxide diffuses into the blood from body cells. When carbon dioxide dissolves in plasma, it forms carbonic acid. A small amount of carbon dioxide is transported in the blood that way. Some carbon dioxide is also transported directly by hemoglobin, but most carbon dioxide is transported as bicarbonate ions, formed by the dissociation of carbonic acid that occurs in red blood cells. When the blood returns to the lungs, carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood and across the alveolar walls into the lungs, where it is expelled during exhalation. Now that we've seen the various components of respiration, let's finish by reviewing their roles in the whole respiratory process.